Good afternoon, Roval Secondary College students. So we're not back on campus yet, but we will be soon. And I'm delighted to be able to bring you another alum series Q&A interview, this time with Errin Mullins from the class of 2000. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, Errin. How are you? You're in Frankston, aren't you, by the beach?
Yes, down by the beach. So working from home at the moment. Do have a beautiful office in the area, but as the current situation is, we're working remotely, the whole business at the moment.
Yeah, that's probably the best idea with 700 staff. Yeah.
Yes.
Much easier too. So obviously you went to Roval Secondary College and you went through to year 12, and when you finished you went on to Swinburne TAFE to study business admin.
So when I was at Roval Secondary, one of the local businesses, Bayer Pharmaceuticals, actually advertised a business traineeship through the VCE Centre. Applied for it and got it. So I spent 12 months as a business trainee working through different departments, mainly out of the HR department, with them for 12 months and studying part-time as a benefit of that traineeship. So that's where I sort of got started.
And how did you find that? Was it sort of like being thrown in at the deep end, or was it just fascinating and getting to have a go at everything, all the departments?
It was good to sort of have a go at everything, because I did quite well at business in year 12 and sort of enjoyed the HR space. Didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. Probably wasn't the best at studying. I definitely have learned that I am better at learning on the job than I am at studying. I need to be doing the job to get my head around what I need to do. So it was great to get an idea and probably reinforce that I enjoyed being a part of the HR team, what aspects of it I enjoyed and what I didn't. But it was definitely an experience, and being a global business, we got exposed to a lot of different opportunities and things that happen through sales, through to anything from being on the front desk to out with the reps on the road and in customer service.
Yeah, it sounds like a fantastic opportunity, and like you say, with a company that scale, you're going to get a really first-class experience.
I didn't know really what I wanted to do. I finished my traineeship and went and worked in retail for a while, and spent my time doing that. I'd been in pharmacy since I was about 15 and sort of went back to doing that because I wasn't really focused on where I wanted to be or what I wanted to do. It took me for probably about 10 years ago, a bit more than that, say I've had enough of retail. I really want to focus on something, and fell into the recruitment space. I don't think there's many recruiters out there that will actually say they search for a recruitment job. I interviewed at a recruitment agency for a sales job and they said, why don't you try recruitment? And that's exactly how I got into it.
That's so interesting, because I think a lot of students don't know what they want to do, but you don't need to commit to something straight away. You can take your time, still work in between, and gain a lot of valuable skills. And then, like you say, you were offered an opportunity and took it. And you've worked for some terrific recruitment companies, some very large companies like Telstra and Toyota and Nissan in their HR and recruitment. And I just wanted to read a quote, a recommendation that you'd received on your LinkedIn profile, which I thought was a very well written recommendation, but B, actually a brilliant synopsis of somebody who does your role. So it says, Errin is a switched on, savvy HR professional. She's easy to work with, decisive, proactive, and incredibly helpful, fair, and upfront. Errin has a keen eye for talent and works quickly to ensure she's able to secure the right people for the right role. It's always a pleasure to assist Errin with any recruitment needs she may have. So I was going to say, did you always want to work in recruitment because you seem like a perfect fit? But you said you didn't. So this was more of almost a natural alignment of your skills and an opportunity given to you, right place at the right time, and being ready for it after having worked in retail and decided you wanted to settle into something. That's a fantastic recommendation, and you obviously have the skill set. What would you say helped you most going from high school through to tertiary education and then into employment? Any particular skills you had?
I think I've managed to work with some really great people who have probably given some good feedback and support. I think when I got serious, I was in a position where I could sort of leave what I was doing in retail and focus on finding what I wanted to do. And I was in a position in my life where I could not work. I think it was more about doing it when I was ready, rather than feeling like I had to do it because I finished school now and I have to make a decision. I think, and being in recruitment exposes me to a lot of people that had a lot of changes in their their careers
Yeah.
and movements. I started in recruitment agency and was fortunate enough that one of my clients offered me an in-house role, which then got me more exposure into HR. I've sat in a HR role as well, which I learned very quickly I didn't want to do it. But, you know, working with different mentors, different managers, and just knowing that when you get that feedback that you're good at something, but also taking on constructive feedback is something you definitely want. And don't take it in a negative way. Look at it and go, right, what are my strengths and what aren't? I tried the HR side of things and did a national HR role, but just didn't enjoy it. I'm not comfortable with the side of HR with performance management and the disciplinary side of it. I enjoy the talent side and working with people and growing their careers. And I can look back at a few people I've placed, and I've actually placed someone that I went to school with at Rebel Secondary who grew a great career in one of my previous businesses. And I can see that she's gone from being a recruiter through to quite a good senior management role in the businesses she's been in. And it's kind of like that makes me feel good. So that's what I sort of said, that's where I want to stay, with what I enjoy and I want to get out of bed and do every day.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. If you love something, you're going to want to get up every day and do it. And that's what jobs generally entail. And it's sometimes not until you try something that you think, actually, that's not for me, but I'm glad I tried it. What did you make of your course at Swinburne? Was that, did it live up to everything you thought it would?
I think the business course that I did was the same as the first year HR course that I'd also enrolled in. So which was great. I pulled out of one instead of doing two courses at once. And look, it was definitely hands-on because we did a lot of on-the-job learning, which is how I probably learned better. I did start my HR course when I was working in a HR role, and that was great because a lot of the work I did at work was what was submitted. And that's how I probably learned that I learn better that way. I'm not great in a classroom environment. I don't take notes. I'm not great at studying for exams. But if I'm doing the work, I learn it and I can. And that's what I've done through my career. And it's, I think, what the difference is between doing tertiary education and learning on the job is that you're hands-on and you're working with people. And if you know that's the way you work, but then again, my brother studies and has for a number of years, and he excels at studying at university. It's just different people learn different ways, and you just got to work out what works for you and see how you can apply it. And for me, it's on the job.
I was going to ask you what a day in the life of Errin Mullins looks like, but I get the feeling that, you know, you really enjoy it because you're dealing with people every day. You're ultimately doing something which should make them happy. You're trying to place them in employment. What do you look for when you see a candidate? Or tell us from your side of the desk when someone rings up and says, I want to apply for this job. How tell me what goes through your head.
I think, look, the big difference between agency recruitment and I'm an in-house recruiter, so I work for a sole business. So it's a little bit different. Agencies working for multiple companies. For me, it's looking at what drives out the role in our business. So if I'm looking for someone, the first thing I look at is, do you have the minimum requirements for the role? It's amazing how many applications we'll get for roles, and you can tell that the application hasn't addressed the role, or they haven't read what the position is. I think it's really important to see that correlation. From there, I'll do a phone screen, and that discussion really is around having a chat, getting to know you a little bit, what drives you, and seeing if there's an alignment with the business as well, because it's not just about having the skills, it's about having the right fit for the team. You could have 100% of the skills, but if you don't fit the culture or the team of the business, you won't stay. Because that's definitely an important aspect. We need to be happy in our employment. So we're looking at the skills, we're looking at how you present yourself, how you talk, how you communicate, and then we do the interview. And the interview is a mixture of finding out how you perform in different areas and different situations, along with technical. And once we've had all that from a candidate and multiple candidates, and we look at how that'll tie in with the team. So each role's different. If it's technical, if it's something like a customer service on the phone, so your communication and being able to communicate over the phone is different to face. So it just depends on the role, but it really is, the first thing is making sure that the person understands what they've applied for, and it tells me what their interest is in this role and potentially the company as well. So research is key.
Probably a cheeky question, but what's the most common mistake you would say candidates make? Is it grammar? Because everyone says it must be grammar on a CV, but I don't.
No, I don't think a grammar, if you were going for a communications role, Where
Yep.
Definitely. There's not a problem with having an error. Humans make mistakes. I think some of the biggest mistakes people do is maybe at the interview stage is not being honest in their answers. It's really obvious to someone that is experienced with interviews if you're not 100%. And there's no problems with saying, look, I'm not too sure. I think it's this. An interviewer should ask and probe questions. But I think the biggest mistake is no research. If you're coming to a company and we ask you, what do you know about us, or what are your drivers? Some basic information off a website can give you enough to get through that question. It's very obvious when someone hasn't done the research. Being where I work at Southeast Water, we're not a big brand outside of the Southeast catchment. You don't know who we are unless you get a bill. So it's it definitely is obvious.
Since you've left school and you've joined the workplace, what would you have said to yourself as a teenager?
I think just be yourself and not worry what everyone else thinks. If you try to be someone you're not, it's really obvious. And in the workforce, you don't have to. You're not. How do I put it? You don't have to be friends with everyone. It's very different to being in school. You're there to build a career and work for yourself. You definitely have a team. I've got an amazing team, and we have a lot of banter and a lot of outside of work activities because we have a really great culture. But I think the biggest thing I'd look back, if I looked at myself in high school, I said, it doesn't matter what everyone thinks of you. You do your best and you do your achievements, and you can succeed. Just focus on what's important to you, and do that. That's probably the
really
best
good advice. Yeah, it's really good advice. At school it is very, very social, and work is social but different social. And if you want to be friends with everybody, you're not going to have time to get any work done.
No.
I think at the moment the students year 12 and year 11 they're in an unusual situation, and I think they've handled it fantastically well. If you could give them some advice, I mean, you're a perfect example of someone who's gone through a really good school. You've worked in retail and decided, actually, I don't want to do this forever. I'm going to pursue this. You're a mum, you're a working mum.
Yep.
These students have got all that ahead of them, but is there any pearls of wisdom that you would like to say to them in addition to the ones you've already given, which I fully agree with?
Look, when you reach the workforce and you're in a professional environment, your world opens up to whole different types of people, type of thinking, ways of doing things. Be really open to it. Your studies aren't the be all and end all of everything. I mean, this is 20 years since I finished school, which is a bit scary to think about. My life's completely different now. My priorities are different to what they were at school. I have a family. I'm juggling full-time work with being a mum. I think it's just focus on what's important to you. Get through your studies. If you want to go to uni, focus on that. If you want to work, look at what your options are and what you excel at. I excelled at business management when I was in year 12 there. And that's where I've ended up back, funnily enough. I left it for a while and I'm back in a business style role in that HR and recruitment space. I think if you just focus on what you're good at rather than what you might feel some pressure to do, or you might feel I have to do this and I have to get there. There's ways to do what you want to do without having that, huge score and 10 years of university. I look at my brother who's done a double degree law music. He's got, 7 or 8 years of uni under his belt, and, he's got his law degree. And I'm sitting in a space working with other professionals in HR with no formal qualifications behind me, but just worked hard and excelled because I'm good at it. It's been really easy for me. And I think that's the best thing I've done is gone, I like it, I enjoy it, it's easy, and I've just gone down that way, and it's been really successful for me.
And you've obviously worked really hard, I would add.
Definitely have put in the hours.
That's such good advice. It's really easy to sort of feel like you're not enough, or you need to be doing more, or why aren't I doing that? And actually stick to what you're good at. Stick to what you love and work hard at it, and you'll get to the place that's right for you. And the timeline might be different from your peers, but it really doesn't matter. I would love for you to come back to campus and talk to some of the VCE students, because I think they'd have a ton of questions. And you could really, really give them some rock solid advice. So thank you very much for your time today. And we'll definitely invite you back when we're all back up and running.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.